Hey everyone, my name is Irony Payne and I'm the Pollinator Coordinator for Georgia Association of Conservation Districts. Today I'm going to introduce you to the Georgia Farm Bureau Spring 2022 STEM Challenge. The theme for this STEM Challenge is pollinators. We need our pollinators. Our pollinators are crucial for many of our plants to continue their life cycles, and in turn, we get the fruits and vegetables that we love to eat. But our pollinators are in trouble. We're taking away the spaces that they need to survive. That's why we need you to answer the STEM Challenge question, how can we improve and increase pollinator habitat in our communities? 3rd through 5th grade students will use the Great Georgia Pollinator Census counting chart to observe pollinator activity on their school grounds. They will then put their science, technology, and math skills to the test to design a pollinator habitat based on previously observed plants and pollinators. We need all participating classrooms to submit a video presentation detailing their efforts and conclusions for the STEM Challenge titled Great Georgia Pollinator Protectors. We are now going to meet with a pollinator expert with the University of Georgia's Cooperative Extension to learn more about pollinators and their habitat. Today I'm here with Becky Griffin. Becky Griffin is the Community and School Garden Coordinator for the University of Georgia's Cooperative Extension. We're here in Becky's own personal meadow to talk to you about the process of pollination and some of Georgia's pollinators. So to start out, Becky, can you tell us a little bit about the process of pollination?
Right. So welcome, Arnie. It is exciting to be here with you today. And pollination is something that we talk about every day in our work. So the process of pollination is simply the moving of pollen from one part of a plant to another part of the same plant or a different plant altogether. The thing that I like to remind people when I'm teaching about pollination is it's all accidental, right? So the insects are not pollinating watermelon for Becky to have a great 4th of July, or the bears aren't pollinating the goldenrod, so we have more goldenrod next year. It's an accidental process where we have insects, which are the best pollinators, and plants kind of co-evolving so that the plants are attracting the pollinators and the pollinators are moving the pollen. So on the surface it's pretty simple, but when you get down into it, it's pretty nice little complicated dance.
What are some of our key pollinators in our state?
Well, I think the key pollinator in our state are going to be bees. And I think the reason is because their morphology and biology makes them perfect pollinators. Bumblebees have hair, a pile all over their bodies. So when they go into a flower, there's lots of places for that pollen to land. Their hair is also branched. So once that pollen gets in there, it stays. And when bumblebees, we've all seen them kind of lumber through as they fly, but that hair gets positively charged. And when they land in a pollinator plant, in a flower, that negatively charged pollen, I call it the whoomp effect. It goes whoomp. So that kind of helps move pollen around. So if I had to pick one key species, it would definitely be a bee.
And we have a bunch of native bee species,
Right.
Correct? Which are not the typical bumblebee, the carpenter bee, but they're smaller and often nest in different locations than we're used to thinking of. What are some of their key nesting locations?
Well, you're standing in one. Yeah, so we have some ground nesting bees digger bees, we call them, or miner bees. A lot of them come out really early in the springtime and they nest underground. We also have some bees that like to nest in the hollow stem cavities of plants. And some of those plants you probably have seen, we have some stems on the ground, some bone set stems, they're hollow as well. And bees use those for nesting as well. So when you think it looks wild and messy, you have to adjust your thinking and think, this is a great habitat for nesting of native bees.
So thinking about habitat, we know that the pollinators like pollen and they like the nectar in the plants, which is that sugary liquid. But what else do our pollinators need to survive? So you mentioned nesting sites. Can you talk a bit more about pollinator habitat and what's crucial for our pollinators?
Right. Well, the first no-brainer is you got to watch your insecticides. Many times, even if it's labeled organic, it is a broad-based insecticide, and you're killing all of your beneficials, which includes our pollinators. So nesting we talked about. So leave some leaves on the ground. Don't rake them up and put them on the side to go to a dump. Right? They are wonderful habitat for not only our pollinators, but our fireflies as well. And our queen bumblebees like that extra layer when they're overwintering and going into diapause. Water is also crucial, and you can have a water system if you have a pond or a little creek. We have a little pond over that way. You can also create one by putting a bird bath with some pebbles or something like that in it. So we need water, food, the flowers you mentioned, the shelter, and some places to hide for predators. So some evergreen trees, those are great for butterflies to rest in and bees to nap in, and where they feel safe from predators.
So, what is currently happening to pollinator habitat in Georgia and in the United States in general?
It's declining, and I think that's a big problem. Anytime that we cut down what we think is a weedy meadow and put in a strip mall with lots of asphalt, we have taken away the habitat of lots of little small creatures that we really depend on. I'm very excited that part of the Georgia pollinator census is creation of habitat, and we're right now mapping habitat creation for the past 3 years through the census. So I'm always looking for positives, whether you have a small plot of land like I do here, or whether you live in a high rise in Atlanta. You can create a small garden. You know this from all your great work. And those small gardens can have a big impact in bringing pollinators in. If you create a nesting site, we'll have more pollinators. And before you know it, you have made a difference, a true, real difference in pollinator conservation. And that is really exciting.
I have to ask, because you are a pollinator expert, and we'd love to hear what your favorite pollinator is.
Wow, that's tricky. And it changes all the time. I try and learn new ones. Right now, I've just been fascinated with the halicid bees. I've seen a lot of those this year, the green metallic bees on sunflowers. And once you show someone one, they're fascinated. How can that green bee exist and I not know about it? And so I've seen a lot of those this year. So if I have to say for 2021, my favorite pollinator are some of those metallic green sweat bees.
And those metallic green sweat bees are super active in the fall months.
Yes, they are. And they look beautiful on our fall asters. You know that green color on the bright yellow and the purple?
Yes. Well, thank you so much for meeting with me today, Becky, and talking to us about pollinators and pollinator habitat.
Thank you for having me.